Hey everyone and welcome back. Today, we're diving into a massive strategic puzzle that global life sciences companies are wrestling with right now. And that is, how do you win in one of the most dynamic, complex, and, let's be honest, incredibly lucrative markets on the entire planet? So where do we even start?
Okay, let's just kick things off with a huge question. If you're a global company and you're hunting for that next big wave of growth, where is the real action happening? What's that next great frontier?
Well, the answer couldn't be clearer. It's the Asia-Pacific, or APAC, life sciences market. This whole region has just exploded, and it's become the absolute center stage for innovation, for investment, and for some really intense competition.
But why? What makes it a frontier? Why is all this money and attention pouring in from every corner of the globe? Let's break down exactly what's driving this.
It's really a perfect storm of opportunity when you think about it. You've got healthcare systems that are expanding and modernizing at a crazy pace. Then you add a booming middle class that has more money and is demanding better healthcare. On top of that, governments are actively pumping money into biopharma innovation. This isn't just some passing trend, it's a massive economic and social shift. It's basically a gold rush for any company that can figure out how to navigate it.
But, and this is a big but, here's the catch. This gold rush is not a straight line to success. Not at all. It's much more like a complex, high-stakes maze, filled with traps and dead ends for any company that goes in unprepared. And the challenges here are just immense. Every single country has its own unique healthcare system, its own set of rules for how drugs and treatments get paid for, and its own tangled web of regulations. What works in one country is pretty much guaranteed to fail in the one right next door. And this means the biggest mistake a company can make is to just waltz in with a one-size-fits-all strategy. That approach, it's doomed from the start.
And this slide right here just nails the point. Just look at the difference between Japan and India. On one hand, you have Japan, a mature, high-value market with very clear, established rules. On the other hand, you've got India, an emerging giant that's all about volume and affordability, with a regulatory system that's constantly changing. They're both technically APAC, but in reality, they're operating in completely different worlds.
So, this brings us to the million-dollar question, right? When you're staring at this level of complexity and fragmentation, how on earth do you even begin to build a winning strategy? How do you find your way through that maze?
Well, the answer is, you don't guess, and you definitely don't just copy what your competitors are doing. The answer is to build a compass, a strategic compass that's powered by hard data and deep market intelligence. Let's take a look at how that compass actually gets built.
See, a methodical approach like this one just cuts right through all the noise. First, you use data to figure out which medical fields, say oncology or rare diseases, have the most real potential. Then, you dig in and map out the specific regulations and pricing models in the countries you're targeting. Next, you benchmark your competitors to find where you can stand out. And finally, you identify the right local partners who can help you make it all happen. It literally turns a chaotic puzzle into a clear, step-by-step plan.
Let's talk about this idea of competitive benchmarking for a second, because it's so important. This isn't just about spying on your rivals. No, it's a really disciplined process. It's about learning from the best in the game, understanding their strategies, and then figuring out how you can do it better, or maybe just differently, to carve out your own unique space in that market. It's an absolutely critical tool.
Okay, so what happens when you actually use this data compass and you use it effectively? What does that look like? What's the real outcome of all this careful planning?
I absolutely love this quote from the source material because it just perfectly sums up the entire goal. You take a situation that is filled with risk and confusion and uncertainty, and you use data to systematically turn it into a clear, actionable opportunity.
And the payoff? Oh, it's very real. You go from confusion to total clarity. You know exactly where to put your money and your resources. You slash your risks because you actually understand the landscape. And the bottom line is you seriously accelerate your path to success, building a business that's not just profitable, but also totally compliant with all the local rules.
And a huge piece of minimizing that risk comes down to understanding these things, the regulatory pathways. For any life sciences company, this is one of the biggest, scariest hurdles. A data-driven strategy basically demystifies this whole process. It gives you a clear map of the exact legal and procedural steps you have to take to get your product approved in each unique market. No more guesswork.
All right, so let's zoom out for a minute here. What's the big lesson? What's the big picture takeaway even if you don't work in the life sciences industry?
This right here is the ultimate takeaway. This principle is not just about life sciences in Asia, it is universal. In any market out there that seems chaotic, fragmented, or just plain overwhelming, a methodical, data-backed approach is the key. It's how you turn what looks like an impossible challenge into a concrete, winning strategy.
And that kind of leaves us with one final thought to chew on. Whether we're talking about renewable energy in emerging economies, or fintech in Africa, or some other industry entirely, what other complex, chaotic market is just sitting there, waiting to be unlocked by someone who brings the right data compass to the table? Something to think about. Thanks so much for joining me.